Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 722 for the 15th of February. And we start off with the frontline changes, and so there is a number of frontline changes, and they are all at the Avdiivka Front. So these are the frontline changes. These are the areas here that we are gonna see some frontline change. That I'm gonna go through with you, and over in the northern part, the Russian forces, according to the Russian claims, the pro-Russian channel Ryba, they claim that the Russian forces have basically lined up the entire front line along the railway line, which is over here. This is the railway line that leads all the way to the Avdiivka railway station. And talking about railway station, the Russian forces have, according to Deep State UA, has progressed basically to the edge of the railway station, and they continue to progress southward within the city. And outside of the city, they have, after the capture over here, they have pushed westward and southward. They push both ways. I mentioned that they can choose to go west or go south. They go both of them. So, and on top of that, they also go north. So they're very greedy. They're more greedy than I think that they would. And they go north also, and they have been geolocated over at this junction with a flag, and showing that they are there basically at the entrance of the main road entering into Avdiivka. So the road is closed, and the Russian forces has also entered to the southern part of the Coke plant. This is not Coca-Cola Coke. This is Charcoal Coke. So basically, actually, I don't even know what is a Coke actually. So yeah, or maybe it's just drugs. I don't know. So basically, they have already reached the southern part of this industrial complex. So this is a massive change, and also the Russians are pushing along the lake and are pushing towards the south as well. So these are the frontline changes over in the northern part of Avdiivka. We move to the southern part of Avdiivka, which is over at the Opitny region, where the air defense zone is. The Russian forces here, in case you do not know, they have control over the southern neighborhood over here. And a previous update, the Russians have taken the salient in the northeastern part of Opitny. And in the late, and then I was talking about that the Russian forces are going to close this pincer, and apparently, based on the mapping of Deep State UA, after the geolocation of Russian forces raising their flag in the air defense zone, they raised their flag over there. They basically considered the entire encirclement. Previously, they actually drew it similar to what I have drawn in yesterday's report about the encirclement that is developing. In their next update, they just basically gave it up, and they show that the Russians have already taken all this entire area. So the entire region here is now all Russian control. I believe this is a bit symbolic rather than actual. I think the Russians still need to do a lot of clearance and sweeping operations along the entire tree line around this area here, and of course along this entire settlement. They need to go through and make sure that everything is cleared. And definitely the air defense zone is gone for now. This is the second time we seen geolocations from within the air defense zone. The first time it was indoor, and it was kind of rated as inaccurate. But this time around, we have a more significant one. They are outdoor with a drone shooting them. So, not shooting them, but as in, using a camera to shoot at them. Yeah, you don't die from camera shooting at you, just in case you do not know. So, basically, this is the situation over in the southern part of Avdiivka. And over on the eastern part of Avdiivka, there's information coming from Ryba claiming that the Ukrainian forces have abandoned their position over at the Donetsk filtration station. So this is the furthest most eastern part of the entire encirclement that is currently being developed over at Avdiivka. So if you look at this general picture that is currently probably happening in this area here, this is actually the most eastern point. And the Ukrainian forces have abandoned the position, and they are probably trying to make their way out of the city. So which is why I think the Russian forces basically taken the station without actual rifle battle. So this is the current latest frontline changes in Ukraine over the past 24 hours. The changes is so intense that Ryba have to do 3 separate reports on Avdiivka. This is unprecedented. I've never seen that update frontline 3 times in a single day. So I think not even Bakhmut, even in the battle of Bakhmut, I never saw Ryba actually do 3 times. I think maybe only 2. So this is quite interesting. So we move on to the strategic and tactical reporting. Start off with the MiG-29 shot down over Kramatorsk. This is a Ukrainian MiG-29. MiG-29, it can be multi-versatile. They can use for air-to-air, or they can also use as ground attack. So it got shot down over Kramatorsk. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that it's an air defense unit that shot down the MiG-29. We move on to the Southern Front. Over at Krinky, allegedly the Ukrainians still have a position over there. It is unclear if there are still any forces at Krinky. According to the latest report from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they said there is one attempt to attack the Ukrainian forces, but there is no mention of Krinky in their bombardment reports and whatnot. So we will continue to monitor to see how these progress. And we move on to the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. I just want to update I have decided to move the Velika Novosilka sector into the Donetsk Front. So is this sector over here. This is now going to be part of the Donetsk Front from now on, because of the developing situation on the ground, and also for the very fact that Velika Novosilka is actually within the Donetsk Oblast, but it was part of the Zaporizhzhia line that the Russians have maintained before the entire Zaporizhzhia front burst into action due to the Ukrainian counteroffensive. So there is geolocation of some counter artillery action over in the area of Kayamsky in the northwestern part of Svatove. So this is actually a footage that was published by RT. I'm not sure when. So anyway, this is geolocated by Krimi Caprice. So showing that Ukrainians actually have some very, very forward artillery systems over in the area of Stepove. A bit too forward. The distance between the front line is from the artillery was just 4 kilometers. So maybe this artillery system was meant to do counter artillery mission. So they have to be a bit more forward to hit Russian artillery that's further behind. And I think this is why the counter artillery got counter artilleried. And over at the Orikhiv sector, we have no updates of any fighting. According to the evening report from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they said that there was no fighting in the Zaporizhzhia Front. So we move on away from the Zaporizhzhia Front into the Donetsk Front. So Donetsk Front, this is Donetsk city, and this is the Donetsk Front now include the Velika Novosilka sector. And over at this Donetsk Front, I want to show you the strategic situation right now first. There is fighting reported at Prione, at Staromayoske, Urzaine, in the south of Preshestivka, towards Vodian, in the Volodymyrivka region. There's battle of Novomikhailivka, fighting at Boyeda, at Georgievka and Krasnohorivka. So now you see why the Velika Novosilka sector now makes sense to put into the Donetsk Front, because this looked like one entire front line. The entire Donetsk Front is now bursting into flames. There is so many directions that the Russians are pushing right now. So I want to talk about the Velika Novosilka sector first. The Russians talked about Urzaine, and the Ukrainians talked about Prione and Staromayoske. And I think Prione was by the Russians. The Ukrainians talk about Staromayoske. So and south of Preshestivka, which is over here, the Russians did not talk about this. So Zorita Neva was mentioned in the day before. So in this area here, in this front line, there is before, after the Velika Novosilka sector, before Voleda, the Russians are still probing. So there's nothing really to talk about in this area here. It's kind of unclear how hard the Russians are pushing. Over in this area in the west of Voleda, the Russians are still probing. Now they're probing Prishestivka, and this is actually previously was attacked on the 12th and 13th. 14th there was no attack. Now 15th. On the 14th the attack was at Zolota Neva. And so the probing continues. They continue to keep the Ukrainians guessing in this area here. And it's a bit like tennis, you know. Sometimes you hit it here, sometimes you hit it there. You just force them to run here and run there. So this is what I think is currently happening. And over the Voleda region, there is still continued reports of fighting in the area of Vodian. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. It's unclear where the vector is at this moment. Where is the attack coming from? Is it this attack that is talking about Vodian, or is it coming from the Mikhailsky region? It's unclear at this moment. We will continue to wait for further information. And there is reports of fighting near Volodymyrivka, which is Vladimirovka in Russian. So we'll continue to see what is this happening right now. And I think the Russians are trying to bet on the Ukrainians routing. So they're putting all the pressure right now. And over at the Novo-Mikhailivka region, the Russians are continuing the battle over here. They have also reported about hitting Ukrainian forces at Paraskovyevka and Konstantinivka. So we will continue to see how this progress. I'm not sure if there is a push in this way that is causing these reports coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. So we will wait and see how this progress. Situation is developing very dynamically, and for an observer, of course, it's going to be very exciting. And to be honest, the situation over at the Donetsk Front is not less exciting than the situation that is developing over at the Avdiivka Front. But of course, all attention is on Avdiivka. I fully understand why. And over at the Marinka sector, there is fighting reported at Bojeda. Some people told me it's Bojeda or Bobeda. Whatever it is called victory, I think. And at Georgievka or Hiohivka, as well as Krasnohorivka. This is the usual. There is no frontline changes being reported. I think all the attention is at Avdiivka. So anyway, no geolocation that prove any frontline change, but this is the strategic situation at this sector. So we move on from the Donetsk Front into the there is one geolocation though. Is basically a Lancet hitting a self-propelled artillery over at Shatatsky. So it's just, yeah, the usual. Lancet is becoming so common that it's almost pointless to talk about. Over at the Avdiivka Front, so Avdiivka Front, just now I already mentioned a bit about the frontline change. The action is coming over here and here, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't work. So I talk about Povomaysky first. Russian forces are attacking Povomaysky and Nevelsky. So that's all, but let's push that aside. So over in the Avdiivka, the Russian forces is pushing towards Lashtoshkine. They're pushing south, and they're pushing north towards the southern part of the coke plant. They have taken over the Donetsk filtration station. They have taken over the air defense base. They have basically closed the pincer and are considered by the Ukrainian mapping. So they are probably going to continue to attack northward or towards the Kimik region, or start to attack within the southern part of Avdiivka. I'm definitely bracing for an attack coming from the northeast, and the Russians are definitely pushing in the southeast. Definitely this is happening, and definitely going to look at the Tonenki-Shevene situation, because it's now looking like a perfect time for the Russians to start an attack in this area here, to close up the gap, or create a new pincer movement. And the situation over at this area here, the Lashtokhine region, is now acknowledged in the morning report of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So if you look at the latest report coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they mentioned about repelling 28 Russian attack in the area of Avdiivka, Lashtokhine. So Lashtokhine is now being mentioned, and they basically have acknowledged this advance that was reported by Deep State UA of the Russians pushing in this direction towards Lashtokhine. So this is definitely a reality right now. That means the Deep State UA's report is most likely accurate, given that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry have basically acknowledged the situation. And over in the south, This concession is a result of geolocation, drone footage of Russian forces basically raising the flag in the air defense zone, or air defense base. So as a result, Deep State UA basically considered the entire area here, and they concluded that there is no way the encirclement means anything anymore. So they basically closed the entire encirclement in their mapping. And seeing the soldiers are also very relaxed, it shows that the Ukrainian forces basically have routed. They have basically run away as per I have advised. Clearly, they are not watching because I don't think they have internet to watch. So they definitely have heard of the latest information and decided to rout and run away. The same situation for any forces that is currently over this area here. I think they have also run away. So as a result, the entire pincer basically have closed and ended the entire saga in this southern part of Avdiivka. Further up in the north, similar actions is currently happening. There is geolocation. There's a video footage. This is a horrible one, but it is a Russian troop that is waving the Russian flag over at this junction, leading. So it is actually in this area here. So he was actually around here. You can actually see the pipes in the video. So he was over this area here and basically cut off the road. Also, the main road out, the only proper road out of Avdiivka is basically occupied. The main junction into Avdiivka is now occupied by the Russian forces. And on top of that, based on Russian reports, the Russian forces even pushed all the way to the southern part of the coke plant. And this is also geolocated. I'm not sure of the video, so I'm going to find. I think I will show it in tomorrow's SITREP of this video. And in their mapping, in the Russian mapping, they say that they are not at the fire station, but they are very close by. They have taken this area here. They probably traveled through this open area, the forest region, or the plains with some trees over there. And they have also closed up straightened the entire front line along the railway after capturing the rest of the Dacha region on the eastern part of this industrial area. So situation is developing really fast, super fast. In fact, because we're always joking about how the front line never changed, and suddenly this amount of front line change is massive. It's super massive in the context of the Ukraine war, because you don't have this kind of changes so quickly in such a short time. So there is also bombardments being reported at Avdiivka already. So this is geolocated. So the Russians are already starting to bombard the coke plant again in preparation for the ground assault. So situation at the Avdiivka is precarious for the Ukrainian forces. We move on over at the Niu-York Front. The Russian forces counter-attack over at Pivdeny. The Ukrainian attack at Sumy and Pivdeny was not reported anymore. Now only the Russians are counter-attacking over at Pivdeny. So it looks like this counter-attack, I call the Syrsky offensive, has failed to make any difference in terms of the frontline situation over at Avdiivka or Bakhmut. We move into the Bakhmut Front. In the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front, we have the usual in this area here. The Russian forces reportedly attacking at Klishchevka, Andriivka, and Kodyomivka. So this is the usual situation. Geolocation of some stuff of Ukrainian forces getting bombarded by Russian artillery was geolocated in the west of Klishchevka, and over in the west of Zaporizhzhia, a Lancet discovered a MTLB. MTLB is actually a transport vehicle, an armored transport vehicle. It was spotted and then it was targeted by a Lancet and taken out. So this is the situation over in the Zaporizhzhia. Over at this northern part, the situation remains the same. Fighting reported in the area of Bodanivka as well as Ivanivsky. So there's no other details regarding this front line. So we will continue to monitor and to see how this progress. We move on away from the Bakhmut Front into the Siversk Front. Over the Siversk Front, in the latest morning report by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they reported that the Russians attacked Versailles. So this is the only facility that I know of in the Liman direction. So this is probably where the Russians make some push. And that's all from the Siversk Front. We move into the Kreminna Front. This is Kreminna city. At Kreminna Front, the Russian forces attack at Terny, Yampolivka, and the Ukrainians attack at Terny, Yampolivka, Torske, and Dibrova. So this is the only front line where the Ukrainians have some initiative and they are on the offensive more so than the Russians. We'll continue to monitor the strategic situation over at this Kreminna Front. And moving up north, over at the Svatove Front, there is Russian attack reported at Makiivka. Geolocation of some fighting, at some attack of the FPV drones of the Ukrainians attacking Russian forces. This does not change the front line, as the geolocation is actually well within the Russian controlled territory. So, but the FPV drone is wreaking havoc on the Russian troops over in the western part of Kremenzinivka. Moving up north into the Kupyansk Front. This is Kupyansk city, and then this is the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces are conducting offensive operations again. This time around, they have activated the Kromalny sector, which is over here, the Kromalny Tambaivka sector. In this area here, the Russians are attacking Berestove and Pischany. This is reported by the Russians themselves. So this offensive has started again. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report the Russians are attacking at Ivanivka. So it looks like the Kupyansk offensive has begun again for the Russians. This time around, they are going for Pischany. So we shall see how this progress in this area here. And of course, we have Sinkivka as usual. The situation at Sinkivka remains the same. The Russians are attacking, Ukrainians are attacking. Both are saying that they are defending. So we do not know what's the situation over at Sinkivka. And that's it from the Kupyansk Front. And I believe I covered everything. So this is the summary for the day of 722 for the 15th of February. Do press the like button, subscribe, must subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.